Good morning and welcome to the Forex Daily Update, brought to you by Pepperstone on Monday the 20th of August 2018. I'm Darren Sinden and you can follow me throughout the day on Twitter by using @DS_Pepperstone. Right, let's take a look at the overnight changes and price moves to be aware of, and as it's a Monday we'll look at these from a weekly perspective. And really, it's been a case of a much calmer week than the preceding one, and perhaps a bit more of a realistic outlook settling in. Turkey didn't collapse as was predicted. That's not to say that there couldn't be further problems there, but for the moment, the market's focusing on finding some proper levels and some firmer footing. So we saw, for example, the Australian and New Zealand dollars pushing back against their US counterpart over the last week. A similar story really in dollar CAD and dollar Mexican peso, particularly on the peso, obviously more of an emerging market economy in Mexico than Canada. We also saw dollar index give a little bit of ground, maybe a few chinks appearing in the dollar's armour, trading around 96.18 shortly before we recorded the video, dollar index. But the problems in the emerging markets haven't gone away entirely. Here's the South African rand, down by more than 2% over the course of last week against the US currency. So while Turkey may have stabilised for now, markets are still on alert for issues elsewhere. Okay then, what's on the calendar? Events that may move the markets today. A pretty compact calendar, it's fair to say, though there are some key points to note. At 6 a.m. GMT, we will have producer price index for Germany for the month of July. This is, of course, a measure of factory-grade inflation, the prices that affect manufacturers and producers of goods and services. At 9 a.m., we will have construction output data out of the whole Eurozone for the month of June. Be interesting to see how the construction sector is performing. Prior read was 0.3%. Consensus today for a forecast of 0.2% on the month-on-month data. And then a little bit later on in the morning, we will have the German Bundesbank monthly report. The central banks look at the state of play of the German economy and the prospects therein. We fast forward then to 12:15 GMT, cross over the Atlantic to Canada for the Bank of Canada member Wilkins' speech. And then at 1500, the second of the day's central bank speeches, this one from FOMC member Bostic, again in the US. At 15:30, we have a 3 and 6 month T-bill auction in the USA. Always interesting to see how the market wants to play and pay in US debt auctions. And then we have to wait till 2200 for the third of the day's central bank speeches, and this from the Reserve Bank of Australia's Governor Philip Lowe. And finally at 22:45 we'll have visitor arrivals data for July out of New Zealand. Presumably the New Zealand government will be looking for these numbers to dip, having taken the recent action to ban foreigners from buying houses. Okay, breaking news and comment then that's caught my eye. First of all, US trade representatives will start to hear testimony from hundreds of witnesses this week about the effects of $200 billion of US trade tariffs on Chinese imports. Thailand's economy has grown ahead of forecasts in the second quarter of 2018, and data showed the country was going at an annualised rate of 4.6%. Meanwhile, sanctions against Russia don't seem to be harming the internal economy. Russian unemployment remained at record lows, while wages rose sharply in July for a second month, and they were up 8%. And I believe that follows a 7% gain in the prior month. So boom times for Russian workers, and the Russian economy as a whole seems to be powering on, despite, as I say, US sanctions. Meanwhile, in Australia, the Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull has threatened to break up large energy companies and has shelved his own previous energy plans to try and appease unhappy party members who are threatening to rebel. Right, food for thought then, something to take away with you into the trading day and beyond. Why not think about this? US and Chinese diplomats will meet this week to discuss trade and tariffs, but the US also has trade issues closer to home, as the chart opposite shows. Canada and Mexico are the other big trade partners for the USA besides China, and this handy chart from Deutsche Bank shows exports and imports from the top 10 or top 15 trading partners of the USA. Well worth studying, but you can see China, Canada and Mexico here, streets ahead of everybody else. Okay, thank you for your time today. Please take a moment to read the risk warning. Trading CFDs and foreign exchange on margin can be a risky business. If you're in any doubt about those risks, please contact your Pepperstone account representative and do take a moment to read this risk warning.